This is Dr. Percy J. Sifra, Assistant Professor, Department of EC, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research. In this video, we'll be seeing about the mobile radio propagation concept in cellular mobile communication topic. So basically, to get into this topic, we'll see what is radio wave propagation. The basic mechanism behind this electromagnetic wave propagation are diverse, but can be attributed to general three features like reflection, diffraction, and scattering. So these three phenomena are responsible through which the electromagnetic wave radio wave is propagating between the transmitter antenna and the receiver antenna. So most cellular radio systems that is operating in urban areas where there is no direct line of sight, because in these urban areas there will be tall buildings, tall structures will be there, so that there will be no direct line of sight path between the transmitter and the receiver. And where the presence of high rise buildings can cause severe diffraction loss. So in the urban areas where there are more tall buildings would cause in no direct line of sight path between the transmitter and the receiver. Due to the multiple reflection from varying object, the electromagnetic waves travel along different paths of varying length. So this reflection, diffraction and scattering phenomena leads to the multiple reflections of this electromagnetic wave to travel along the different paths of varying lengths. So the interaction between the waves cause the multipath fading at a specific location, and the strength of these wave decreases as the distance between the transmitter and the receiver increases. So the propagation models have traditionally focused in predicting the average received signal strength at the given distance from the transmitter, as well as the variability of the signal strength in close proximity to the particular location. So these to detect the transmitter and the receiver signal strength, there should be a certain model so that we could able to predict or calculate the signal strength. So these to do that, the propagation models have been traditionally followed, so that the distance from the given distance between the transmitter and the receiver, the signal strength could be measured in close proximity to the particular location. So these propagation models that predict the mean signal strength for an arbitrary transmitter receiver separation distance are useful in estimating the radio coverage of the transmitter, and are called the large scale propagation models, since they characterize signal strength over larger transmitter receiver separation distances. So these propagation models could be classified into large scale propagation model and a small scale propagation model. In large scale propagation model is used to characterize signal strength. There will be a larger distance between the transmitter and the transmitter and the receiver separation. So these larger distance would be calculated or predicted by means of this large scale propagation models. On the other hand, we could also calculate the shorter time duration or short travel distances of the signal strength. In that case, it will be called a small scale propagation model. So to define that, a propagation model that characterize the rapid fluctuations of the received signal strength over very short travel distances. That means the travel distance between the transmitter signal and the received signal is very shorter, and also it takes only a shorter time duration. So these could be calculated by the small scale models and which or the fading models. So as the mobile moves over very small distances, the instantaneous received signal strength may fluctuate rapidly, giving rise to small scale fading. So as these mobile is in station, it's not in stationary, means it will be moving. So it will be, when it is moving over a small distance, the instantaneously will be receiving the signal strength from the mobile user that may fluctuate rapidly. This would give rise to the small scale fading. So the reason for is that the received signal is a sum of contribution coming from different direction. So the receiver may receive the signal at a different direction. So before the signal is being received at the receiver end, it would be diffracted, reflected or scattered over different buildings or the natural objects like trees or the intermediary car persons. So the signals are being reflected, diffracted and scattered before it is getting reached at the receiver end. So these fading is caused by the interference by two or more versions of the transmitted signal, which arise in the receiver at a slightly different rate. So at the receiver end, due to the more versions of this interference which is caused by the transmitted signal, this would arrive at the receiver at different time, because it is getting obstacles, or many obstacles are there in the middle before it is getting arrived at the receiver. So this fading is caused by the interference of these two or more versions of the transmitted signal. So the phases are random, and some of these contributions varies widely. For example, it obeys a Rayleigh fading distribution. In small scale fading, the received signal power may vary by as much as 3 or 4 orders of magnitude when the receiver is moved by only a fraction of wavelength. So in small scale fading, only when the receiver is moving only a small fraction of wavelength, you could get the received power signal may vary as much as 3 or 4 orders of magnitude. So as the mobile moves away from the transmitter at very much larger distances, the local average received signal will gradually decrease, and this local average signal level is predicted by large scale propagation model. So in case when a person carrying the mobile is moving only a smaller distance, the received power signal may vary by 3 or 4 orders of magnitude. In case if a person is traveling a very larger distances, the local average signal level will gradually decrease, and this local average signal level in case of a person moving at a very larger distance is predicted by means of the large scale propagation models. Typically, the local average received power is computed by averaging signal measurements over the measurement track of 5 lambda to 40 lambda. So for cellular and PCS frequencies in 1 gigahertz and 2 gigahertz band, this corresponds to measuring the local average power over movements of 1 meter to 10 meter. So we'll see about the free space propagation model. This is one of the propagation model. This is used to predict the received signal strength when the transmitter and the receiver have a clear, unobstructed line of sight path between them. So these there is a clear, unobstructed line of path sight. So in this case, only this free space propagation model is being used. So the satellite communication system and microwave line of sight radio links typically undergo this type of free space propagation. So as with most large-scale radio wave propagation model, the free space model predicts the received power decays as a function of transmitter-receiver separation distance raised to some power. So the free space power received by the receiver antenna, which is separated from the radiating transmitting antenna by a distance d. This is usually given by means of a formula which is known as Friis free space equation. So this free space equation, this relates the transmitted power with the received power together with the gain of the transmitter antenna, receiver antenna, and it also includes some of the system loss factor and the wavelength. So this the received power is calculated by multiplying the transmitter power with the transmitter antenna gain with the receiver antenna gain, and d is the distance divided by 4 pi square divided by d square into L. So PT represents the transmitted power, GT represents the transmitter antenna gain, GR represents the receiver antenna gain, lambda is the wavelength, and 4 pi it is a factor, unit factor, and d square which represents the TR separation distance, that is the transmitter and the receiver antenna distance of separation is given, and L is the system loss factor. So the gain of the antenna is related to effective aperture. It could also be related to the effective aperture. So the effective aperture is related to the physical size of the antenna, and lambda is related to carrier frequency. Lambda it could calculate by lambda is equal to C by F, which could be given as 2 pi C divided by omega C. F is the carrier frequency in hertz. So the miscellaneous loss, that is a system loss factor which we define by L, or usually done which is due to the transmission line attenuation or the filter losses or the antenna losses in the communication system. Usually the value of L is equal to 1, which indicates that there is no loss in the system hardware. So the free space equation shows that the received power falls off as a square of TR transmitter, that is transmitter and the receiver separation distance. This implies that the received power decays with the distance at a rate of 20 dB per decade. So an isotropic radiator is an ideal antenna which radiates power with unit gain uniformly in all directions. So to define an isotropic radiator, it could be defined as an ideal antenna. That is an ideal antenna which is radiating power in with unit gain uniformly in all directions. It is radiating power uniformly in all directions with a unit gain and is often used to reference antenna gains in wireless system. It is mostly used as a reference antenna gain in the wireless system. So the effective isotropic radiative power EIRP is given by EIRP is equal to PT into GT. So the path loss. Path loss to define which represent the signal attenuation as a positive quantity measured in dB. It is defined as the difference between the effective transmitted power and the received power. And so the path loss, it is as the name implies, it is like a signal attenuation. So when it is calculated as a difference between the effective transmitted power and the received power. So that is the difference between the effective transmitted power and the received power. It could be measured as a path loss, and it may or may not be include the effect of antenna gains. So the path loss for the free space model when the antenna gains are included is given by this formula. So when the antenna gains are excluded, the antennas are assumed to have a unit gain. So the path loss is given by the formula. Path loss is equal to 10 log Pt by PR, which is equal to minus 10 log lambda square divided by 4 pi square d square. So this free space model is only a valid predictor for PR for values of D which are in the far field of this transmitting antenna. So the far field or the Fraunhofer region of a transmitting antenna is defined as a region beyond the far field distance F, which is related to largest linear dimension of the transmitter antenna aperture and the carrier wavelength. So the Fraunhofer distance is given by df is equal to 2d square divided by lambda, where d is the largest physical linear dimension of the antenna. So next is we'll see about the three basic propagation mechanisms. So propagation, as we said, like radio wave propagation is based on three important mechanisms like reflection, diffraction and scattering. So we'll see one by one. So reflection. Reflection usually occurs when the propagating electromagnetic wave impinges upon an object which has very large dimensions when compared to the wavelength of the propagating wave. So this reflection is occurring only when the propagating electromagnetic wave, it is falling on an object which has a larger dimension compared to the wavelength of the propagating wave. So the object which is on which the wave is being touching, if it is having a larger dimension when compared to the wavelength of the propagating wave, then the reflection occurs. So normally the reflection occurs from the surface of the earth and from buildings or walls. So when these waves strike upon the surface of the earth or buildings on walls, the reflection process take place. Next is the diffraction. So it occurs when the radio path between the transmitter and the receiver is obstructed by the surface that has sharp irregularities. For example, edges of the buildings or edges of the walls, if the wave is being striken, it will cause the diffraction. So the secondary waves resulting from obstructing surface are present throughout the space and even behind the obstacle, giving rise to a bending of the waves around the obstacle even when the line of sight path does not exist between the transmitter and the receiver. So at high frequency, diffraction, like reflection, depends on the geometry of the object as well as amplitude, phase and polarization of the incident wave at the point of diffraction. So as reflection, this diffraction is also depending upon the geometry of the object. Also, it is depending upon the amplitude of the wave, incident wave, phase of the incident wave and the polarization of the incident wave at the point of diffraction. Next phenomena is scattering. So it is occurring when the medium through which the wave travel consists of objects with a dimension that are smaller compared to the wavelength and where there are number of obstacles per unit volume is large. So this is where the scattering is taking place. The scattered waves are produced by rough surfaces So normally the scattered waves are produced by the rough surfaces, smaller objects and lamppost. Induce the scattering in a mobile communication system. So what are the factors are causing the scattered waves or the rough surfaces, smaller objects, lamppost. These are the factors which are inducing the scattering in a mobile communication system. So next is the small scale fading and multipath. So small scale fading or simply fading, it is used to describe the rapid fluctuation of amplitude of the radio signal over a short period of time or travel distance, so that the larger scale path loss effects may be ignored. So normally small fading is usually used to describe the smaller fluctuation that is rapidly occurring at the amplitude of the radio signal over a short period of time. So the fading is caused by the interference of two or more versions of the transmitted signal which arrives at the receiver at slightly different times. So these are the factors which are termed as fading. These waves, called multipath waves, combine at the receiver antenna to give a resultant signal which can vary widely in phase and amplitude. So the waves which are arriving at the receiver side will be varying in amplitude and phase depending on the distribution of intensity and the relative propagation time of phase and the bandwidth of the transmitted signal. So the multipath in the radio channel creates small scale fading effects. The most important effects are there is a rapid change in the signal strength over a small travel distance or the time interval. The random frequency modulation due to varying Doppler shifts on the different multipath signals. The third one is the time dispersion, which is caused by the multipath propagation delays. So in urban areas, fading occurs because the height of the transmitter mobile antennas are well below the height of the surrounding structures. So there is no single line of sight path to the base station. So in well-developed cities, we could see there are larger, taller buildings, and there would be no straight line of path between the transmitter and the receiver antenna. So even when there is a line of sight, the multipath still occurs due to the reflections from the ground and the surrounding structures. Even when there is a straight line of sight path between the transmitter and the receiver side, there will be a multipath which is occurring due to the reflections from the ground or surrounding structures. So the incoming radio waves arrive from different directions with different propagation delays. So the signal received by the mobile at any point in space may consist of large number of plane waves having randomly distributed amplitude, phase and angle of the arrival. So these multipath components combine vectorially at the receiver antenna and can cause signal received by the mobile to distort or fade. So these multipath components, like they would combine virtually at the receiver antenna, it is getting combinations, and this could cause the signal received by the mobile to distort or fade. So when the mobile receiver is stationary, the received signal may fade due to the movement of the surrounding objects in the radio channel. So if the objects in the radio channel are static and the motion is considered to be only due to that of mobile, then the fading is purely spatial phenomena. So the spatial variations of the resulting signal are seen as temporal variations. So when the mobile is in movement, the fading is purely due to the spatial phenomena, and the spatial variations of the resulting signal are seen as a temporal variations. So by the receiver as it moves through the multipath field. Due to the constructive and the destructive effects of the multipath waves summing up at various points in space, the receiver moving at high speed can pass through several fades in small period of time. So if a receiver end is moving at a high speed, they could cause fading in the signal in a small period of time. In a more serious case, a receiver may stop at a particular location at which the received signal is in deep fade. So maintaining good communications can then become very difficult, although passing vehicles or people walking in the vicinity of the mobile can often disturb the field pattern. So the disturbance may be through the passing vehicles or the people walking in the vicinity of the mobile. So thereby diminishing the likelihood of the received signal remaining in the deep null for a period of time. So due to the relative motion between the mobile and the base station, each multipath wave experiences an apparent shift in the frequency. So the shift in the received signal frequency due to the motion is called the Doppler shift. So due to when the mobile is in motion, and we could get a shift in the received signal frequency, and this could be defined as a Doppler shift, and is directly proportional to velocity and the direction of motion of the mobile with respect to direction of arrival of the received multipath wave. So that the Doppler shift, it is the shift in the received signal frequency caused due to the motion, and this Doppler shift is directly proportional to velocity, that is at the speed at which the vehicle moves, and the direction of motion of the mobile with respect to the direction and the arrival of a received multipath wave. So we'll see the some of the factors which are influencing the small scale fading. So there are many physical factors in this radio propagation channel which could influence the small scale fading. These include, first one is a multipath propagation, second one is the speed of the mobile, third one is the speed of the surrounding objects, and also the transmission bandwidth of the signal. So the small scale fading is being affected by four factors like multipath, the different path a signal takes so as to to meet at the receiver end. Second one is the speed of the mobile, speed of the surrounding objects, the transmission bandwidth of the signal. We'll see one by one. First is the multipath propagation. So the presence of reflecting objects and scatterers in the channel creates a constantly changing environment that dissipates the signal energy in amplitude, phase and time. So we could not expect a signal to meet at the receiver end without any reflection or reflecting objects or scatterer. There will be a possibility, or there is a chance of being a presence of reflecting objects and scatterers in the channel. So this could cause a change in the signal energy by amplitude, phase and time. These effects result in multiple variations of the transmitted signal that arrive at the receiving antenna displaced with respect to one another in time and spatial orientation. So the random phase and the amplitude of different multipath components cause a fluctuation in the signal strength, thereby inducing small scale fading, signal distortion, or in some cases both may happen. So the multipath propagation often lengthens the time required for the baseband portion of the signal to reach the receiver, which can cause signal spearing due to intersymbol interference. So the multipath propagation, as it is said, like it is taking different path to receive at the receiver, reach the receiver end. So this would also can cause signal smearing due to the intersymbol interference. Next one is the speed of the mobile. So when a person is traveling from one city to the other, moving at a small faster at sometimes, and it would be slower at some cases. So the relative motion between the base station and the mobile results in random frequency modulation due to different Doppler shifts on each of the multipath components. So the Doppler shift would be either positive or negative, depending on whether the mobile receiver is moving towards or away from the base station. So the Doppler shift is based on the movement of the mobile receiver. It would be either positive or negative, which is depend on the whether the mobile receiver is moving towards or away from the base station. So if the objects, next is the speed of the surrounding objects. So there will be many objects surrounding the person. So if the objects in the radio channel are in motion, they induce time varying Doppler shift on the multipath components. If the surrounding objects move at a greater rate than the mobile, then its effect dominates the small scale fading. Otherwise, motion of the surrounding objects may be ignored and only the speed of the mobile need to be considered. So if the surrounding objects are moving at a greater rate than the mobile, so mobile remaining stationary and the surrounding objects are moving at a greater rate, then this effect would be dominating the small scale fading. Otherwise, if speed of the mobile is greater than the surrounding object speed, this motion of the surrounding object factor would be ignored. So the transmission bandwidth of the signal is the other feature of the affecting the small scale fading. So if the transmitted radio signal bandwidth is greater than the bandwidth of the multipath channel, the received signal will be distorted, but the received signal strength will not fade much over a local area. That is, the small scale signal fading will not be significant. So the bandwidth of the channel can be quantified by coherence bandwidth, which is related to specific multipath structure of the channel. So what is coherence bandwidth? Coherence bandwidth is a measure of maximum frequency difference for which signal are strongly correlated in amplitude. So there is a strong correlation in amplitude on which a maximum frequency difference is measured. This is the coherence bandwidth. So if the transmitted signal has a narrow bandwidth as compared to the channel, the amplitude of the signal will change rapidly, but the signal will not be distorted in time. So if the transmitted signal is having a narrow bandwidth as compared to the channel, the signal will not be distorted in time. Thus, the statistics of the small scale signal strength and the likelihood of signals appearing over small scale distances are very much related to specific amplitude and delays of the multipath channel as well as bandwidth of the transmitted signal. Thank you.